Centuries ago, how did fair-skinned people survive the sun without sunscreen? Man, people are coddled to death in the modern world. It's a higher risk of cancer with high sun exposure, but it's still quite a low number overall. The sun is not death. This post actually blows my mind that people think like this. Makes me think of how so many people have never killed, seen an animal die, or even the skinning or innards of a dead animal. Like they just magically show up in the supermarket, all nice and prim. And if you don't see the killing, it didn't happen. I mean, it's not like fair-skinned people die immediately when exposed to sun. Without sunblock, the risk of skin cancer goes up. However, not everyone gets skin cancer before reproducing. That's all that matters here. I live in a fair-skinned place, and I know people that allows themselves to get burnt and blistered in the sun not infrequently. Most of these people have managed to make children. I've read that people who get sun exposure regularly have less skin cancer than people that get it intermittently. Like if you have a job there you're always outside has less risk than if you get in the sun occasionally and get red skin due to the skin isn't used to it. Don't have any source of it. Centuries ago people that were out in the sun enough to worry about it generally didn't live long enough to actually worry about it. The average age of melanoma diagnosis today is 65. The amount of people who made it that long was far fewer, and thus skin cancer was less of an issue. If you look at a map that shows population distribution by skin tone you'll notice that fair-skinned people resided in places where the sun was less of an issue and vice versa. Clothing and probably a degree of natural tan were enough for people living where their ancestors did. They died before they got to their 40s of other things, usually. Lots of new causes of death appeared after antibiotics and immunization became available. People used to die of minor injuries because of infection, and measles, mumps and pox used to kill a lot of people. Hats and protective clothing. Think about it. It's only been in the last century that people went out without a hat or head covering of some kind. Same with clothing. It's not like people walked around with shorts and tank tops on, even on hot days. It was an evolutionary trait based upon proximity to the equator, exposure to the sun, same as with eye characteristics. Evolution didn't expect humanity to develop technology allowing for fast travel all over the globe. At least that's one theory. Lived where they were better genetically adapted for. I'm meant to be in an almost constant dreary, overcast, damp area and instead I'm in a desert and it's kicking my ass? Sadly it hasn't been long enough for humans to adapt, but we can manage. You can survive today without using sunscreen too. I still survive and I work outside in the sun. But centuries ago people died of other reasons and the average age was 30 or something, so sunscreen wouldn't have helped them anyway. Why do you think fair skin was prized? Women and men typically wore hats or wimples and rich women wore masks or plaster on face to preserve the fairness. And if you were a peasant, plenty of other things to die of. On a few occasions I've come across people talking about changing their diets and the effects in a few different places. It seems that not eating fried foods may actually prevent sunburn as we know it today. I may sound like an environmentalist, but I'm afraid you can argue with science. Back then the ozone layer wasn't ruptured by greenhouse gases, so it offered protection from UV rays centuries ago. Centuries ago, people wore clothes or stayed in the shade rather than venturing out in bikinis for hours whilst the sun is high. Or they just didn't survive. Nature. They didn't live as long as we do to develop skin cancer, and with our global warming and climate shifts, ozone depleting, we suffer sun effects more. They wore head-to-toe clothes and hats. No bikinis at the beach in the 1800s. People really covered up back then and even used parasols too. UV is what causes skin cancer. The ozone prevents the UV from reaching the earth. There is more UV today due to the hole in the ozone layer covered themselves from the sun. And also it's not like you just die from skin cancer at 35. It's still a disease of mostly advanced age. Remember, white Americans are not native to North America. Native Americans have darker skin that's more suited to the environment. Lived in cloudy places up north where fair skin allowed for synthesizing vitamin D without as much risk of skin cancer. Hats and face coverings. Niqabs originated as sun protection before being co-opted by religious organizations. Fair-skinned people are fair-skinned because they don't come from places where the sun is a problem. They didn't, they died Arab, zany face, confused face, flushed face, and I'm going to bed. Other things killed them before skin cancer did. Life expectancy wasn't great. Hats and umbrellas. Before those existed, life expectancy was shorter. You ever watch the movie Predator? Good film. You should check it out. If you want a proper answer, you should take this to risk historians. I think most of them died before skin cancer becomes a problem. Died of something else long before skin cancer got them. They built coffins and slept in them during the day,